Hello, chefs. Good evening. We're back again. I'm Isaiah, the young Jedi chef, here with the Dragon Warrior chef, German Lamb, and the Phoenix Warrior chef, Noreen. We will be your host for today's podcast. You are listening to a unique podcast where we will discuss the tough yet real topics that need to be heard in the industry. In this podcast, you will hear the truth, real, raw, and unfiltered. Today, we have the honor of having Chef Nazim with us to talk about leadership in the kitchen. I'm excited to get started and jump right in. So without further ado, I'll let the star of our show, our guest, Chef Nazim, introduce himself. Chef Nazim.
All right. Hello, everyone. My name is Nazim Khan. I'm the executive chef at Bryan Medical Center. So a little bit about me, quick one. So I say that my journey from Bangladesh to USA, New York to Nebraska, hotels to healthcare, and I believe in food works as a medicine.
Awesome, Chef. Thank you so much for being here today. It's a true honor. And I think everybody on this call today can agree with you. Food does work as medicine, and it contributes to how you perform on a daily basis. So super important. Thank you so much for being here today, Chef. So in the world of hospitality, food and beverage, there's so much knowledge, passion, skill, and technique that goes into our craft every day. Most of us that enter into this industry all start from the bottom and desire to work our way up to the top. However, it is not done overnight. It is important to start from humble beginnings so you learn to appreciate those that you will lead in the future. This will lead us to our first question. How did you start off your culinary journey? What lessons did your first position in the industry teach you? Chef, you want to start us off with that one?
This is an awesome, great question. And anytime I hear people ask me, chef, tell me about your journey, I always get a goosebump because I came to United States not to become a chef. So I came in Georgia College to finish my bachelor's in business and going back to taking care of my father's business, which is garment industry. So I never wanted to, I never had in my mind that I can be a chef or cook. It did not register in my brain. So long story short, so when I end up working in Hampton, Sag Harbor, so very posh area, you guys know in New York. And my culinary journey start in a kitchen, just kind of cleaning, peeling shrimp, help chef to make a tempura batter or cut vegetables. So it was a summer job for me. So after school. So, and that restaurant, St. Japanese restaurant, lots of celebrity comes in, like Alec Baldwin, singer Billy Joel, Steven Spielberg's son, and lots of people comes in. So, and whoever comes in, whoever knows the Japanese chef, his name is Tora-san. So everybody said, Tora-san, how are you? So they bow their head to the floor. I said, oh my God, big actor, actress like that. And they bow their head on the floor. I think I wanted to be like Tora-san. That's where my inspiration came in. And I said, you know what? I leave study and I wanted to be like Tora-san. So one day I asked chef, I said, chef, I wanted to be like you. I wanted to learn sushi. I wanted to learn how you cook rice, how you cook the whole tuna, and all those things. So chef shake his head and said, okay. Chef did not speak English very well, but in a limited English, he said, okay, teaching, no pay. And I'm proud that he gave me that. I'm so happy that he gave me that opportunity. And I said that was my school. So no pay is not a problem because that was a solid ground. And chef taught me how to make sushi rice, how to make a roll, how to do sashimi, how to clean fish. My whole culinary journey started from a Japanese kitchen. And I grew up there, and they helped me to get my green card. And I worked with them long time, and then I move on. And then rest is history. So I'm a World Chef certified master chef working in Bryan Medical Center as their executive chef.
Wow, that's awesome, Chef. Truly inspiring story. And like you said, the knowledge is worth more than the money. Just that opportunity to learn from that high quality of a chef that's pretty incredible. And I think that's what we're all in this industry for, that passion, that drive that we have. It keeps us going,
Yeah.
Yeah. It's awesome. Thank you so much for that, Chef.
You're welcome.
Noreen, Chef Lam, what's your spin on it?
Yeah, I think I have a similarity with you, Chef Nazim, in that I did not think that I was going to be cooking or working towards becoming a chef at all. I was in healthcare, and I didn't think, I'm a daughter of immigrants. Our family immigrated from Egypt, and so there are few positions and things that are a true beacon of success in the immigrant community, and doing something like the food industry is not necessarily what my parents thought I would do and what I thought, but I found my way in that it's still my true passion to help people, but there are a lot of ways to do that. And I just found that there are so many ways we can change lives with food. And there are a lot of issues in our society also around food. And so if I'm dreaming of this and I'm interested in it, why not go out and challenge myself to do something different and bring a different perspective onto the food industry? So that's really what drew me in. So I appreciate coming from kind of a different place and looking at this like, oh, I'm very interested in same thing in a Japanese restaurant, how they break down the fish and cut it perfectly. It's such a beautiful art, and there's so much love and skill and patience that goes into it. So that's really what drew me in. And my first positions, I'm still learning. I'm really learning to be aware, present, and absorb everything that I can while I'm learning. That's really my first position, was shut up and learn, and I really took that to heart, and it's been very rewarding so far. So I'm excited to continue building on that.
Yeah. Isaiah, if I can add something on, I think your last part of that question was like what lesson you learned from that industry, right? So I
Exactly.
always tell people like my first lesson was from the Japanese kitchen to until these days to become a good listener. So
Mm.
if you don't pay attention and listen the story, like Noreen just say that, it's amazing. She's born in America, but her parents came as a first generation. So I'm the first generation. My son is like you, born and raised here, going to medical school.
Wonderful. Yeah.
Yeah, so it is that listening part. Like especially when you come as an immigrant, your accent different, you see things different way, cultural shock, and then saying everything is a thank you. Other cultures probably they don't say thank you at all. So it's just a culture things, and then if you don't listen carefully, good, then you're not really learning, because every chef is different, every human being is different, right? So we all have a different agenda to play with. So listening is a good part. That's the first thing that we all need to adapt in this industry.
Yeah, for sure. Like you said, I couldn't agree more. Listening and actually retaining and applying,
Yeah.
because you could listen, but if you don't apply and if you don't do it, then it's worthless. So I really love that point, and learning from the people that are seasoned in the industry. Super important, and it's important, I believe, to be able to ask your chef questions, be able to use them as a guide and as a mentor. And we'll talk about that a little bit more later in the podcast, but I love that point, Chef. Listen and learn from those that came before you. Super important. Chef Lamb, what's your spin on it?
Oh my God, I don't think we have enough time because this is Chef Khan's stage right here, right? So I'm just gonna give you a Cliff Note version. For me, when I hear Chef Khan talked about it, was the first thing was he had a mentor, a Japanese samurai chef, and that is very hard to find. So why is that? Because that person is going to, in one way I call it, break you in, boot camp, like first thing, no pay. And if you're looking at it, you're like, that's not fair. But you go, it's a restaurant. I'm in business. I have, I have a cost of labor. And that's the reality of the restaurant business. You got to be practical. These things that they did in the past, they weren't taking advantage of you. They were saying, hey, if I see that you have a foundation, then I'm willing to, invest. And right now, as a chef, something that's our industry. Our industry is really about, body, mind, spirit, and food, because you have to know how to use these parts that you have. And for me, the biggest part was, graduating, working at the Ritz in Boston. That is my grad degree. My eyes saw something like, wow, these European chefs, they took me under their wings. I didn't know anything about white table dining, but they showed me how to perfect, the French cuisine. And from there, if they didn't do that, I wouldn't be here right now. So to me, it's really finding someone that is really going to love you, but really going to share with you and not hold any recipe back and say, hey, this is how you make a demi-glace. This is how you make a beurre blanc. This is how you make a lobster Newburgh, you know? So for me, I would say, you know, the timing, I was lucky. You know, I wanted to be a electronic engineer growing up, but then I realized, you know, that was really boring. So I went into this profession. This profession is really about the human element, you know, besides the listening part is your eyes. Your eyes does not lie. And what I mean by that is, you know, the environment culture there, it could be very toxic. And for the rich, when I was there, I don't see that right now. You know what I mean? It's a different era. So it's because of the business world. You have to remember, you know, think about what's going on in the corporate world. That tells you, because the corporate world, actually, we follow the corporate world because they're the one that spends a lot of money on, you know, on events, banquets, you know, conference, you name it. And without them, then we don't have, you know, we're not able to provide for our families. So that's, you know, that's my two.
No, you're right. And I love what you said about having that foundation and having, you know, the chefs invest in you. And I think that their investment in you is a form of payment. It might not be monetary, but it's a form of payment. It shows that they care. So, you know, like I said, in this industry, we receive payment per se in different ways, you know. So thank you so much for that, chef. So as a leader in the kitchen, it is extremely important to be knowledgeable and well-rounded and connected. Behind every leader is a group of individuals that has helped to build them up and get them to where they are today. I feel that it is very important in this industry to find a strong mentor that can guide you and push you forward when needed. So, how can a young culinary or hospitality professional put themselves in a position to set them up for success in the future? What books should they read, or who should they be connecting with? Chef Nazim, you want to start us off?
Wow. Yeah, that's a great question. Chef Lam already speak about those things, like French chef teach him how to learn and cook demi-glace to bar blanc. So do I. So the Japanese kitchen, when I left, I came to New York Marriott Marquis, Times Square, biggest kitchen. So I was under Chef George McNeil. He's a certified master chef, and also he was the corporate chef for Ritz-Carlton. So chef is the one that who saw in me that I can be a chef. I was just a cook in New York Marriott Marquis. So chef said, "Why you don't become a sous chef?" I said, "Chef, do you think I can be a chef?" Yes, of course you can. You got talent, you got good people skill, you listen carefully and get all the job done. Why don't you become a sous chef? So long story short, I become a sous chef, and then I grow up one by. But answering to your question, the young generations. In the first part, we talked about good listening, and then growing and find how you're going to find a good mentor, because every chef is different. One French chef, one Canadian chef, one Japanese chef, one Chinese chef. You know, they're all different beasts, or is like samurai chef that the chef was talking about. So but as a first of all, that young professionals need to know self-awareness. Like, so you need to learn yourself first, that what triggers you to get mad, what triggers you to get excited. So you eliminate when you try to understand that your chef or other person. So when he assess the situation, and you need to build a bridge how he can connect with that chef, that he can learn. So if you ask me what I have done, I make my chef life easier. So when you make your chef life easier, what that meant, he building a bridge, and at the same time, chef realized that, okay, he or she make my life easier, so I have little time saved, and that saved time I can invest on that young professionals. So that's the key. So if we cannot build that relationship, then chef is not going to give you shit. I'll be honest with you. I mean, you have to open yourself. You say, chef, this is my progress. This is 1 year, 2 years, 3 years program that I wanted to grow, and tell me what I need to do. You open up. When I was working with Chef Pete Duran, and he's no longer, he died, and he was very close to me. And Chef, I used to see like our schedule was 3 o'clock. So when I hired as a steakhouse garde cook. And then I used to see like Pete was always there, 3 o'clock when all the cooks we used to go. Pete is there 12 o'clock or 10 o'clock. He's making demi-glace. He's making a butternut squash bisque. He's making the special for the steakhouse. I said, oh my God, chef works so long and he leave after us. So it was like 12, 14 hours a day in New York. So then I kind of feel that I have some tasks that I need to do for him. I said, chef, you're going to need onions. I chop up some 200 pan full onions. So you can use that. I have some celery diced up for you. You're going to make butternut squash bisque tomorrow. I already diced all the butternut squash for you. And then Pete used to come at 12. Then he started coming at 2. Then he started coming then I said, chef, can I come 2 o'clock? And, Marriott is a corporate world. So chef said, oh, I cannot have you overtime, la, la, la. I said, chef, you let me come at 2 o'clock, but the time I supposed to leave at 10:30, I will be able to finish everything up by 9:30. Clean up, 9 o'clock, restaurant closed, everything clean. I walk and I rush and leave. Chef said, okay. So then Pete and I both used to come at 2 o'clock. So he never had to come 12 o'clock anymore because I was helping him 1 hour. And when 9/11 happened, so I was the last cook hired in New York Marriott Marquis. So I was supposed to, so they were laying off some cooks and some other people. And Pete is the one who go to Chef George McNeil and say that, I can lose all the cook, but I cannot lose Nazim. Because of that transition, because he knows every station how to cook. He knows all the prep and he helps me. And only Nazim and I can run the entire steakhouse because we don't have that much business and he knows the entire station. So because I make his life easier, so he had that time to spend on me to teach me how to make demi-glace, how to make butternut squash bisque, because I did not know anything of those products when I was in a Japanese restaurant. Japanese restaurant is teriyaki sauce and other things, right? So these are the learning moments for young professionals that, you need to open up, you need to figure it out, and you need to build the bridge with the chef, and then find out how we can make that chef life easier, and the chef can find some time and invest on you.
I gotta say, chef, I love that story, and I don't think I could have said it any better. And like you said, when you put in that extra time and you say yes to every opportunity, and you know what the chef needs, and you know his expectations, and you already have it ready for him, like you said, it gives him more time for when he can mentor you. And I share similar experiences where I've been in the kitchen, the first one in, and the last one to leave. Chef, what do you need? What can I help you with? What can I learn from? And you're helping the chef and you're learning at the same time. So it's a win-win situation, and that puts you on his radar as well. So it's when opportunities come up, he's gonna call you first. So this amazing story, and I could really talk all day on this, but I'm gonna let you be the star, chef. So Noreen, Chef Lam, what's your spin on it?
Yeah, I really just wanted to highlight, I think, 2 things that you said, Chef Khan, that really stood out to me. Learn who you are first, and then learn how to leverage that into being an asset in your kitchen. Whatever that looks like for you, whether that's coming in early and helping chef, whether that's organizing the recipes in a book, whether that's helping train the new person, whatever it is that you can do, find a way to do it so you become an asset. And I love that I never thought of it in a way that when you become an asset and you are someone who is reliable in your workplace, you can free up time for your boss, and then that can be reinvested in your learning. Now you're learning a new recipe. Now you're learning about food ordering. Now you're learning about this tasting menu that they're doing in a couple of weeks. And that is, that's a free education. That's free learning that, is being reinvested back and forth. So I really love that. And but you have to know yourself. You have to know who you are, what's your strengths, your weaknesses, your triggers. That's a really important one too. So that's a really awesome point. Thank you, Chef.
Yeah, you're welcome. And again, I forgot to speak about your second part of the question. So you said what books they need to read, right? There's a story behind that one too. So I never been to Noreen is hats off to you that you went to CIA. I always wanted to go to culinary school and learn, but I never had the money and to go for it. So I learned everything from a kitchen. So long story short, in New York Marriott Marquis, I don't want to mention anybody's name. So one of the sous chef, he was a graduate from CIA, And, I know all the Asian cuisine to Japanese cuisine. So I just walked into New York Marriott Marquis. So he used to talk to me about the demi-glace, this and that, how to make bar blanc and all those stuff. But I never knew those words before. I said, okay, I don't know. So I feel shamed. I said, you know what? I know all Japanese Asian cuisine, but he asked me some word that is not familiar to me because number one, I'm an immigrant. I'm working my way up and trying to survive in New York City. I said, how I can get all this information? So that time was not a Google and all those things that you can just learn from. So what I have done, one of my friend was suggesting me saying that, why don't you start reading dictionary? I said, what dictionary? A dictionary don't have all the food. They said, no, I think there's a food dictionary too. I said, what is that dictionary name? So he find that out name for me. He said, it's called Food Lovers Companion Guide. I said, okay. So I bought that. So that was my reading book in subway, New York City, from point A to point B every single day. And I can tell you, I finished reading that dictionary at least 7 to 8 times in my lifetime when I was in New York City. Because everybody talks in all different culture talking, I said, focus on my dictionary, and I start reading. I learned cheese name. I learned all French cuisine name, Vietnamese food. All those names interest me. And then I used to go and ask the sous chef, do you know what is Ram Bala Charon? So the chef said, oh, I don't know. I said, well, you graduated from CIA. How come you don't know Ram Bala Charan? Because that was the first time I learned that word.
I don't think I even know. Yeah.
So after that, they were just, after that, he stopped. He never asked me any question. So this is the way for me to educate myself and compete into the world. So you need to actually self-motivate, self-educate yourself sometimes and learn. And learning never ends. Still these days, I learn. So when I was in workplace, French kitchen or Japanese kitchen, I learned those. But now I learn how food works as a medicine. I just wrote a cookbook. I wanted to make sure that what I speak, that's really nutritional, that it has the right fact to it, how you can nourish your body, what nuts do that for you, what is superfood, how you can inject the superfood in your 3 meals a day. So the simple thought process, how you can cut down the carb. If you take rice and quinoa together, instead of white rice, brown rice, half quinoa together. So lots of diabetes people crave for rice, but that they're injecting more protein and brown rice. And so it kind of helps them to gear towards that. So these are the things that I put more invest on it now. But yes, you need to have that book. You need to have that resource. You need to have all this information you can get and keep on learning. I call it keep on grinding yourself every single day.
Yeah, I love that, Chef. And I love that suggestion on the book. I'm definitely going to check that out. And I think it's something when you read something physically and turn the page compared to just looking online, it's totally different, So yeah, I think that's super important to education, and culinary school is just the surface level. You have to dive deeper every day in your career and always learn,
Yep.
So thank you so much, Chef, for that. Chef Lamb, what's your spin on it?
Whoa, I'm gonna piggyback on that question about learning. If you guys came over, I have 2 walls of cookbooks when I started. So in one way, I was a geek. And I would say for today's and when we started, it's night and day because you have AI. So in one way, I'm listening to Chef Khan, I'm like, damn, you must have been a triathlon. For you to work those many hours and continue every day, right? And that's one thing no one talks about in this industry, conditioning like an athlete, And for me, martial art and working out was my yin and yang. That right there helped me perform. Where in one way I call it 8 hours, right? I mean, think about it. You need to figure out how to work within your frame. And I worked at the Boston Ritz Hotel. It was a union property. So union property is different than non-union property. Everything is policy. Everything is right to the T. And I'm going, that's pretty cool. Because if you can't work within that 40 hours, then when you're a manager, you really don't know how to manage the hours and actually train. So there's a lot of things going by. So to me, I always say this, like everything that Chef Khan said, I say that's the easy part. The hard part is he conditioned, you know, to me, if you don't, there's no way your body could survive that torture, you know, because your body is going through, just say that 12 to 14 hours, and think about your eating habits. Sucks. Chefs don't have good eating habits, you know what I mean? Then when they retire, they look like Chef Boyardee's, you know, I mean, that's something, that's reality right there, right? So I see it with my eyes right now. So for the new generation, it's really creating a hybrid, you know, having Chef Khan here and hearing his story from tradition versus now, it doesn't exist, you know what I mean? And in one way, it's like you have a brand new piece of paper and you have AI right next to you. And now you can say to AI, which video should I watch? Watch documentary. I mean, that's just speed up the learning process, you know? So to me, I'm kind of like, you know, envy for the new generation, because the old generation, hey, we had to read a book right in the subway, and I did that. I'm like, but now the new way, in one way, what it does is it's gives you more freshness in the mind, right? The mind forgets a lot of things, like, you know, the word that Chef Khan said, what is this? Chef's like, what are you talking about? You know, you pretty much remember the dishes that you prepare right now, not the classic. The classic is fun, but right now it's like, hey, do you know how to make a chicken pot pie? Great. You know what I mean? So to me, it's something that our business right now, AI right there, it's like it can help you, I mean, develop training. It breaks the whole body, mind, spirit down. But the thing is, do you think like that? And also, do you practice it? You know, everything is right in front of you. It's on your phone, it's on your computer. The choice is yours.
Yeah, I agree. I gotta say, it's how you use your tools that you have. You know, you could use it to scroll through TikTok, or you could use it to read something about your industry, how to get better at this, how to use different techniques. You know, there's different things that you could use it for. So that's super important. Thank you so much, Chef, for that. So on a daily basis in the restaurant industry, we see many strong leaders as well as many weak leaders. It is important to notice the traits and qualities of both so you can learn what to do and what not to do when it comes to leadership. So what qualities do you believe that a successful leader has in the kitchen and should possess? Chef, you want to start us off with that one?
Wow. I'm echoing Chef Lam one thing, like, you know, another thing is that, you know, as a chef growing up, you know, sometimes we always say that we don't have time, we rush. Life is so busy. But at the same time, we need to listen to our body, right? If you need to go to the restroom, your body tells you that, hey, you need to go for number 1 or number 2, right? So don't hold it, you just go for it, right? So you need to drink water, you get thirsty, and then you need to drink water. So your body tells you, but then you said, oh, I don't want to drink right now, I'm so busy. So don't put that on hold. You drink water, your body asks you, and do it. If your body say that sit down, you sit down. It's for like 5 minutes, right? So that will actually take you to the long run. So then you don't need to see yourself like Chef Boyardee at the end. So answering your questions, right? It's a human being. I talked about it. Our 5 fingers is different. Chef McNeil always taught us. Chef always says that, you know, you need to create a system and manage the system, not the people, because people are complicated. Every single person is different. But everybody has a strength and everybody has a weakness. So now how you identify that? So if you're self-awareness, like say I'm working with my peer. My peer he did his self-awareness thing and I did my self-awareness thing. So I know my director, what triggers him to make out get upset and what triggers him to make get happy. So I already know what triggers me or how he can push my button. So you need to figure that out. But young professionals, when they're growing together, if they understand each other, hey, you know what, I should not be probably poking Isaiah for one thing, or Noreen get upset because of that. So why I'm saying it, right? So you need to have that open discussions, and that transitions to our communication skill, the how much we are open up. So I always tell people, assume is the killer. So when you start assuming, then you kill it. So you're never gonna win. So never assume, ask. Ask for the clarity. If you don't understand, ask for several times. If I don't understand, I will ask you, hey, what is this? What is, I didn't get it. Chef always taught us, like, if it doesn't make sense to you, don't take it. So it has to make sense to you. And then you can keep it on your back burner. You can pull out anytime you want. Learning ability is another thing. Not everybody has the same learning ability, but everybody, if they're willing to learn, there is a trade-off. So you can understand that. Collaboration is the big things, like, how you have issues, I have issues, how we can collaborate together and figure it out for the common goal, or what is your missions and visions are, right? So integrity is very important. Encouragement. We need to tell each other, like, if Noreen doing a great job, I'm co-worker, say that, Noreen, you have done an awesome job, love you. I mean, great. And same thing, vice versa. So and it's not like one-way direction, it's got to be both-way direction. So these are the things like young professionals should have. So build a good workforce that understand the mission, vision for the company. And I always tell people, like, if I don't, Marriott, Hilton, Bryan Health, so many companies, right? We all have a rules and regulation. But if you cannot create that kitchen is your kitchen, your home is away from the home, you're in trouble. It's not Marriott fault, it's not Hilton fault, it's not a Bryan fault. If you cannot make your kitchen comfortable as your second home, then you're in trouble. But if it is become as your environment that you're eager to go and have fun and wanted to do good business, I'm telling you, life would be completely different. And when I teach my new cooks or newcomers, we sustain people very well. So they have been here 20, 30, 40 years. But anything that everybody cuts different, right? So if as a chef, I said that, no, you cannot do the dice this way. You have to do only my way. You're in trouble. I mean, there's no written in a book, you have to do dice this way. There's like plenty people. People has all like, I'm a lefty, you're a righty. So, I hold the knife one way, other people do the knife another way. There's no one set of rules. There's nothing written on a stone. That's why actually in any recipes, there's no patent for it, right? So anybody can use anybody's recipe. So it's an open book. So that means let them shine. If they do it in a 5 minutes, if other person do it in a 6, 7 minutes, it's okay. But as long as your job get done, as long as your whatever you wanted to accomplish is that get done, that's very important. So building a team and thinking through and helping each other is the key.
Exactly. And I love everything you said. And I think as a chef also, you need to have patience, as you said, and understanding that everybody does it different. Everybody learns different. Everybody has their own style. And as long as they get the job done and everything comes out to the standard that you set, then you're good.
So, sorry to interrupt. And one thing I always talks about, and I wanted to talk into this platform too. Yeah. I always say that Chef Nazim has a 3 P's for success. It's for young generation, older generation, and whatever area that you're working on. You talk about passion. First P is the passion, right? We have a passion to do something, become a chef or become a good cook or nutritionist or whatever you wanted to do. But the second P is a patience, right? Without a patience, without going, without learning, without that patience, you are not going to go anywhere. So you have a passion, you have a patience. And third P is a persistency or perseverance. So how that will mold you. So that means it's a repeating action. So that means you have a goal, and the goal has a lot smaller goal, small goal to go up to the pinnacle. But you have to achieve each goal. So each goal, some of the goal you fail, but you stand up and do it again. So that small goal, when you accomplish, you'll be in the pinnacle. So if you don't have the persistency or perseverance in your life, then you're never going to shine. You're never going to be into your pinnacle. So passion, patience, and persistency, that will helps you to become who you want to become.
I love that, Chef. I'm gonna keep that up here. That's those 3, like you said, those 3 things will get you to the pinnacle of your career. So thank you so much for that. Noreen, Chef Lam.
Yeah, there's so much good stuff in there, Chef. I really love that you talked about integrity. I think that we don't talk about that very often, but integrity is leading by example. It's doing as you say and taking the advice that you give to other people and doing it yourself, and just being honest and open with communication. And I think something that you had said earlier in the episode that I want to bring into this discussion is knowing your triggers. So knowing what makes you upset, what makes you excited, what, pushes you over your limit of patience, so that you can tell when you're getting into a point where you're not being an effective leader and take a step back to reset. Knowing before, shit hits the fan is a good thing to have in yourself, and that, knowing yourself and your triggers, bringing that into integrity, having patience for yourself and for others will take you very far in any leadership role, not just the kitchen.
Yeah, I love your point on that. And integrity is also a big thing, because the truth will always come out. You could do something and nobody's watching, I'm gonna take this shortcut, but it's always gonna be found out one way or another. So someone might not be watching then and there, but it's gonna come out in the final product. It's gonna come out in some way. So that's super, super important. Thank you, Noreen, for that. Chef Lamb?
Well, I'm just gonna say this: the good, bad, and ugly. Nobody wants to be exposed to the bad and ugly, but it's so important. And like the chefs that I met, the mentors in Boston, I go like this: once you leave the Ritz, is a different story. Then I remember that. Then I'm going, I guess you'd never been loved. I guess someone really didn't love you, because if someone did love you, then your treatment of your mentees are better than what you had, right? That's the whole thing about what I say. My say is, I'm going to show you something, but I know you can make it better than me. Why? Because you haven't tapped into this right here. So I use the word love in a way of when someone, uses words or aggression or abusive, I'm like, dude, you never felt love. No one loved you before. And that's pretty sad. And you go, damn. You know what I mean? Maybe that's why you drink, and maybe that's why you do drugs. Maybe that's why you addiction, right? Because no one loved you. So in this business, it's really about finding someone who's really going to open you up and look at you and go, you're going to have a great time because you're going to make it better than me. And I think that's what our cooking is really about. Not following, but making it better than me, because you have a lot of concept, and that's what cooking is. I want you to express it yourself in a very respectful way, integrity way, and team building. That's to me, having Chef Khan right here brought back a lot of storytelling, and I could tell that his mentor had a lot of love. It didn't have a baseball bat, so.
Yeah, I love that, Chef. Like you said, it starts with love, and it goes from there. So, Chef, we have about a minute left. One last piece of advice that you have for any young chefs.
Well, there's lots of advice, but advice is not going to do anything unless you pay attention, right? That communications is very important. Listening is very important. But one thing I wanted to tell, like the young chefs, before you become a chef, you have lots to learn. So please be humble, try to build a bridge with the chef and learn as much as you can. And then when you're learning done with the chef, move on to the other chef. The more you learn, Chef McNeil always taught us that, you learn enough with me. So why don't you work for other chefs to get more information? So then you can build your own character. So the more you learn is better for you. Be humble and good luck.
Thank you so much, Chef. It's been an honor to have you a part of this call today. Everyone listening has been impacted. We really appreciate you, and see you guys on the next podcast. Thank you.